into this discussion last night. What in the world do you do with a quarterback that is completing 58% of his throws? Will he ever get better? Well, here's what's interesting. If you look at the Bears quarterback Caleb Williams' second-year stats, this year's stats, they're identical to Josh Allen's second-year stats in Buffalo. Identical. Both completing 58% of their throws with about 20 touchdowns, not that many picks, and they're winning a lot. But Josh Allen has moved to 70% this year in completion percentage. One of my beliefs, because he's throwing to the tight ends more, easier throws. Their receiving group in Buffalo stinks. So he's not throwing the ball down the field as much. His completion percentage hasn't risen dramatically just because he's more accurate. No, Josh throws to the tight ends more. Those are shorter, easier throws. The truth is, I don't think completion percentage matters as much. If you're wildly athletic, like Caleb, Bo Nix is really athletic, Josh Allen, or you're on your rookie contract. Well, why would that matter? Because Denver and Chicago, Bo Nix and Caleb, have great rosters. Everybody's talking about Ben Johnson. Everybody's talking about Caleb Williams. What's not being discussed is how stacked the Bears roster is because they're not paying Caleb anything. They have the number 3 offensive line of 32 teams, the Bears do. And 2 of their guys, Drew Dahlman and Joe Tooney, are top 10. They're number 1 in takeaways with 2 Pro Bowlers, Kevin Byard and Jalen Johnson. Montez Sweat, 8.5 sacks, top 12 in the NFL. They're number 2 in rushing, 2 excellent backs, and a multitude of really good receivers and tight ends. Lost in the conversation with Bo Nix and Caleb, the Broncos and the Bears rosters with 2 brilliant offensive coaches are loaded. So generally in life, the more money you make, the more mistakes you can make with money. In the NFL, the less money you make as a quarterback, the less perfect you have to be. Now, Caleb's great on third down. Bo Nix is great in the fourth quarter, but they're wildly uneven. You're allowed to be, when you're on your rookie contract, have an offensive coach and are really, really above average in athleticism. So Caleb Williams on third down is outstanding. And he's obviously coachable, durable, and athletic. I'm good with that now. He's going to win a lot of games, and so is Bo Nix, until perhaps they get the big contract.
The discussion surrounding comparative trajectories in the NFL is perpetually intriguing. I don't intend to delve extensively into a side-by-side analysis of Josh Allen and Caleb Williams at this juncture, as I've previously addressed that subject with specific data. The core finding from that examination was that Josh Allen, during the analogous stage of his career, was attempting passes of significantly greater difficulty and operating within a far less supportive ecosystem. He did not have the benefit of an offensive coordinator of Ben Johnson's caliber, nor was he surrounded by the caliber of roster that commentators like Colin Cowherd rightly attribute to the current Chicago Bears. A common oversimplification in these discussions is the notion that quarterbacks like Allen simply, magically, become more accurate. This fundamentally misrepresents the reality of professional development. Allen's transformation was the product of relentless, intentional labor. He underwent a comprehensive mechanical overhaul, altering his throwing motion, hip engagement, and shoulder alignment. Broadcasts have even featured visual comparisons, showcasing the stark evolution in his mechanics from his early years to his current form. To dismiss this as a spontaneous occurrence is to disregard the immense discipline required. For anyone who has ever attempted to retrain a deeply ingrained physical motion, whether in throwing, hitting, or shooting, the challenge is monumental. You are consciously reprogramming muscle memory, forcing your body to adopt a pattern that initially feels unnatural and inefficient. This task is particularly daunting when undertaken at a more advanced athletic age, in one's early 20s, as opposed to during initial formative years. It requires profound trust in coaching, unwavering commitment to an often frustrating process, and thousands of repetitions. The idea that increased accuracy materializes without this foundational work is frankly absurd. This is not to say schematic adjustments don't play a role. Of course, incorporating a higher volume of shorter, higher percentage throws can boost completion metrics. a strategy I've frequently discussed in the context of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid's offensive philosophy. If a coach of Reid's stature prioritizes a shorter average depth of target to accentuate yards after catch, it's a valid approach that many teams emulate. However, this tactical shift operates in tandem with, not as a replacement for, fundamental quarterback refinement. Therefore, when evaluating Caleb Williams, the conversation must acknowledge that he too needs to improve his accuracy. This isn't a condemnation. It's an observation of a standard growth curve for a talented young player. Where the analytical process often falters is in the nature of the comparisons drawn. Juxtaposing Williams' second professional season with Josh Allen's second season, isolated from context, is a largely uninformative exercise. Such parallels don't carry fundamental meaning because the circumstances, coaching, supporting cast, offensive system, defensive challenges, are never equivalent. Even I am not immune to occasionally invoking comparisons, but they hold value only when examining nearly identical real-time situations, such as a quarterback's performance without his top receiver versus another's under similar duress. And even then, the analysis is fraught with variables. The more extreme version of this is the historical, "What did legendary quarterback X do in his first 5 games?" trope. This line of inquiry is intellectual noise. You could unearth a multitude of obscure, since-forgotten quarterbacks who posted superior stat lines in their early career outings than Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, or anyone else. It proves nothing about future trajectory. We are witnessing a similar, equally fruitless dynamic with the premature comparisons between Shedeur Sanders and Tom Brady's early career. These are empty data points that contribute nothing to a substantive evaluation. The comparison becomes particularly precarious when used as a predictive template for improvement. Citing Josh Allen's second-year leap as a reference point for what's possible for Caleb Williams is a logical trap. The same exact reference point was aggressively applied to Anthony Richardson, with pundits highlighting his initial inaccuracy as a parallel to Allen's early struggles. That comparison has, to date, proven to be a non-indicator of Richardson's developmental path. This serves as a perfect case study in the danger of over-relying on historical comps. While Williams is demonstrably a more advanced and prolific playmaker than Richardson was at a similar stage, it underscores why these comparisons become messy and ultimately perform a disservice. They impose an external narrative, rather than allowing a player's unique journey to unfold. We can, however, utilize contextual data to frame the present challenge more clearly. In his second season, Caleb Williams benefits from an offensive line with a pass block win rate of 73%, ranking second in the NFL. During Josh Allen's second year, his offensive line's pass block win rate was a mere 62%, which would place it in the bottom 10 of the league this season. This isn't to diminish Williams' achievements or potential. It is to illustrate the vastly different environments in which these quarterbacks are developing. Acknowledging this disparity doesn't make Williams' success any less impressive, exciting, or special. It simply allows for a more grounded conversation about the specific areas where he must grow. The central thesis, then, is this. It is not only acceptable, but necessary to discuss the aspects of Caleb Williams' game that require refinement, such as consistency and accuracy. The solution is not as simplistic as he just needs to throw to his tight ends more, as some have suggested. That is a schematic band-aid, not a cure for fundamental mechanical or processing consistency. The requisite improvement will stem from the same grueling, unglamorous work Josh Allen undertook. Dedicated film study, repetitive technical drills, and a steadfast commitment to honing his craft under the guidance of Ben Johnson and his staff. Williams possesses extraordinary talent and is operating within an excellent structure. The Bears are winning games. The pertinent question posed, will the Bears keep winning despite quarterback play? Is perhaps framed in an overly binary manner. The more nuanced inquiry is whether Williams' continued development, particularly in refining his precision and decision-making, can elevate from being a component of their success to becoming the primary catalyst for it. That is the fascinating progression to monitor, and it's a journey that deserves analysis on its own terms, free from the noisy and often misleading constraints of rigid historical comparison. Those are my analytical perspectives. I'm very interested to hear yours. What is your evaluation of Caleb Williams' progression and playing style? Do you believe the Bears' current formula is sustainable? And what specific improvements would you like to see from him to ensure it is? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. Whether you agree with this assessment or hold a differing viewpoint, let's engage in a substantive, detailed discussion. Let's have a passionate but respectful debate. Ultimately, let's enjoy the process of analyzing this promising young talent. If you appreciate this style of context-driven, nuanced football commentary, please consider subscribing. We are building a tremendous community here, focused on authentic connection and intelligent discourse, and I would be thrilled to have you join. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it significantly assists with visibility and allows these conversations to reach a broader audience. Thank you for your time and engagement.